ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? This is the Front Door Show. This is the official time, 8 o'clock. I'm back again. This is my second time today. We had earlier today, 5 o'clock with Al Cisneros. But right now is our schedule, regular schedule. And today we have Junior Hollywood.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
so, as I tell about my guests and stuff like that, you know the routine. Introduce
hmm
yourself, give me your websites, give me everything you got. Like if nobody knows you for the first time, and while
Sure,
you're doing that, I'm
sure.
gonna go ahead and create the watch parties and stuff like that. Go ahead,
You
shoot.
got it. You got it. DJ Jared Hollywood, KDJ Promotions, Marketing, website, B Crushers. I think everything leads to bcrushers.com. Facebook, I like to tell everyone at JR Hollywood. I don't necessarily put DJ all the time, I just put JR Hollywood. I spell Hollywood HOLLIWOOD. I saw Piet. I didn't even want to correct you. I said I'm not even gonna correct you. It don't even matter.
I
It's
did it. I
okay.
did it
Yeah,
twice.
it's okay. I have a and you know what, Piet, when I'm DJ too, I have a job. HOLLI. No why. You know what I mean? And dude, it is. I used to just say it so I can correct people. You know what I'm saying? I don't spell it with a Y. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you got a lot of famous Hollywood DJs. Shout out to Frankie Hollywood. You got all them, but I'm like, man, I'm gonna, it's Hollywood too. I'm gonna do it with no, no why, So then, one of my buddies, oh yeah, you should say that. I'm like, yeah, HOLLI, no why. So you can find me at JR Hollywood, HOLLI, no why, WOOD, at Facebook, Instagram, now Twitch. I'm starting to do the little live things now COVID-19 type things, so you can find me there, Twitter, everything at JR Hollywood, even JR Holly. If you go on jrhollywood.com, I got a few mixes there, a few of the stuff that we're doing for some of the, like the concerts, the events, which I hope they kick into gear. But besides that, yeah, everything at jrhollywood.com. Make sure to check out our website, B Crushers with a C or B Crushers with a K. You know how it is, Prieto. You're old school. You had to buy all the domain names in case you
Yes,
wanted to
yes.
spell it the way you wanted. You got to get the other one because then somebody's gonna get the other proper spelling. So at
Well,
B Crushers,
I had to do both Spanish and English. That's the way.
yep, yeah, you got it. It's like at the end of the day, you got it. Like I didn't want to keep, when we were rookies back in the day, with the domains, like you didn't get them all. You just got your regular domain, but then you started to realize people really, couldn't find you, and you're like, what the hell? So you ended up getting all of them. So yeah, at bcrushers.com, you'll see a lot of the events that we put together as B Crushers as a company. Some of the events, mixtapes, music, independent artist shows, and so on and so forth. But that's me, Jay Hollywood from the South Side.
All right, so let's talk about. So I know you for a long time. I know you
Yes.
for a very long time. Some people might not know you for a long time. Um, I'm curious if you known Boogie from back then because you guys were real close to each
Oh,
other.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, so that was wondering because I knew you guys were a hop skip from a stone throw away from each other
Yeah.
basically.
Well,
Uh,
Boogie, he original South Side, Shout out to Boogie Man, you know what I mean? He was Boogie Man was one of those South Side pioneers, like with the whole, DJ groups and stuff like that. And um
so
I had talked
clarify
to Boogie. Yeah,
clarify South Side because
yeah.
there's two different types of South
It
Side.
is. It is. It's huge. So I'm deep south. I'm 89. I'm 89, 91st, 92nd, 95th Street, Boogie stood on 95th though. I think he stays on 95th. Then you got hundreds, um and then you got which is we used to hang around back in the day, and I'm glad you're saying that to clarify it. So then you would, we bump into DJs. Oh yeah, bro, we're from the South Side. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. I'm thinking it's a 5-minute drive. He's like, yeah, bro, we stay by Midway. I'm like, nah, bro. you're Southwest. Like, dude, you're nowhere near South Side, dude. We're closer towards Indiana South. Like, oh
Right.
damn, you're South. I'm like, yeah, dude, you guys gotta start referring yourself Southwest. Nah, because it is. At the end of the day, It is, you know what I mean? It's like Southwest, a lot of, oh no, bro, I'm Southside, of course. I think everybody just assumes, as you see from my hat, anything from, I guess for Ramos, 18th Street, Chinatown, South, you know what I mean? It's just complete South, you know what I mean? But I guess, in general, I guess I'm assuming, North Side too, like South Side breaks down into so many, you got, you got the, by the lake, South Side, you know what I mean? You got like the Southwest, Midway, South Side, you know what I mean? Then you got the hundreds, South Side, you know what I mean? Then you got the casino, South Side. So after a while, I live by the casino, South Side, which is the East Side, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
so which is, Boogie, again, Boogie. A lot of his people were very familiar over there. So, so it's kind of like that's, I guess it's a segment, you know what I mean? It's a difference of where Southside you're actually staying at, like we don't refer, like I know a lot of people were telling me like, or like if they were from further south suburbs, we didn't necessarily call them Southside, you know what I mean? Like if you stood in Cal City, you stood in Cal City, you know what I mean? If you were from Dalton, Dalton. You didn't necessarily say you from the South Side. You were just, from the suburbs, South suburbs, So again, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, but it is what it is.
No.
We said it how it was.
Well, because I want to clarify it because
yeah.
our
It's a
history
big
goes,
difference.
well,
Yeah.
because I'm going to go back to the history of when you first started to
Yeah.
first time we meeting. So how old are you when you first started DJing?
Well, you know what, Prita, at the end of the day, I never really wanted to DJ, if you wanted me to be honest. I'll be honest how the story went about, okay?
Okay, that's what
Now, yeah, like,
it's straight.
yeah, it just so happened now, obviously, in high school, and of course, you had the solo red cup parties, you know what I mean? Get your oldest homie to buy you the $50 keg, you know what I mean? Which I still got some of the tappers, in the garage because you don't get rid of them. So he'd get you the $50, $60 keg. And then after that, you know what I mean? You do the event at the basement, you know what I mean? Not necessarily, we weren't trying to get, 17, 18. We weren't trying to really get people, you don't have that much money to get people, drunk, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you know, we were doing these events and then we would hire the DJs, the profit margin just wasn't there. And then I'll say why the profit margin wasn't there, because I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone who was a DJ, So I know nowadays we say don't low budget the DJ. And back in the day, yes, we low budgeted the DJ. We only wanted to pay the DJ 50, $60 to do our house party. You know what I mean? Because, 100 maybe tops. But it's because, you're only charging $5.
And this was what year? What year was
Oh man, I don't know. Maybe over 20, maybe 90. Is it oosh. I don't know. You're digging deep now. Let's see. It would probably be, so you're talking 96, 97.
Okay.
Because technically, I graduated from high school in 97. So you're talking about 96, 97.
Okay. Right.
A lot of our DJs, big shout out to DJ Flex. He was one of our first DJs. And then my buddy, we started at first using, which I'll be honest, I think our first party was like a double-edged sword. We did good, and then we blew out the stereo. So we had to use the money that we made to pay for more speakers for the thing. So we then, we started getting the DJ. So long story short, the way I got into it is because, we started, trying to hire the DJs. But again, the budget wasn't there. We were young. We didn't know. So then after that, certain DJs, I don't blame them. They, Friday, Saturday came around. They had their own gigs. They were not going to take our gigs. It was just too low money. I mean, even back then, it was just too low money. Like, no, dude, I can't do that. So we just, like me and my brother decided, like, you know what? Let's just save our money and buy turntables. Let's buy speakers, you know what I mean? At least like that. Hey, man, we'll kind of go back and forth, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you go in for about 30. I mean, we sucked back then, but hey, as long as you play the hot record, and I'm going to say record because we were using CDs, we were still buying the records. There was no Pandora, there was no what live, what we doing now. You know what I mean? You went and bought records, and then when you went and bought records, you didn't buy records like I didn't buy one or two records. You know what I mean? You literally saved, which a lot of people probably don't understand. You saved a few hundred, because at that point there was one record shop on Sibley, okay, by Calumet City. That was the closest one to us. And then there was Coops on 87th Street. I went to Coops on 87th Street in Nashville too, because they had the good reggae and the hip hop. And then if I wanted the good house music, I'll be honest, I didn't drive all the way to Gramophones, because at that point, you only get it, when people, nowadays the gas is cheap, but when you gave somebody $5 gas money, they're not taking you all the way to Gramophones. You know what I mean?
No.
You're going to take me to Hot Jams. And then I'm going to get you a Bocce's pizza, baby. You know what I'm saying? Get a Bocce's pizza to RC Pop,
So you made a trip out of it.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Hey, bro, I get you, and then we'll go to the Super Mall real quick. You know what I mean? Get one of the Lotes, But, bro, you understand what I'm saying? Andre, shout out to Andre. And then so we go to Hot Jams, because it was the closest one, at least at that point, is what we knew, 55th. So then we'd buy all like the house music that we knew people liked, you know what I mean? So you're talking, going in there spending $100, $200, because at the end of the day, at the end, so you start to know where the investment comes from, which a lot of people probably don't understand now that they got to download it. But, you want to have the hot songs, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, when you're inviting people over, you want to have those good songs, even though if you weren't a great DJ back then, as long as you had good songs, you got them going,
Well, let's be fair to Andre.
Yeah.
You would ask Andre, and Andre would go, click, 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 start picking them up for you.
Yeah, he would. Like, if you told him, hey, Andre, I want the goods, he's like, oh, I got this, I got that, I got this. And it was like, at the end of the day, which obviously you remember, down the block, and that was a little bit further on, but then down the block, Marsky had that little, that's when the CDs got hot, because then he started selling a lot of CDs. So it's like, anything that was like house music, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like, I went and got from Andre. Okay. And then anything that was like it, and Andre had some of it, and he sure did some of it, but when I went to 87th and National, that was Coop's record. Now he had a ton of like reggae and hip hop, and that's where I would buy all my records from, because that was the high demand there at that store. You know what I mean? So, but again, when I went to that store, it was another, 100, 200, not even including, now you got to buy sound system, now, the speakers, but it was worth it, because, at that point, technically that's how I got into DJing, is because, you start to if you think about it, you reinvest the money you made at the house parties. And I'm not knocking nobody, but if you're 17, 18, sometimes you have 100 people at these house parties, 80, 100. Of course, the cops are being called, but you're talking about $400 or $500. You know what I mean? 17-year-olds, man, that's a lot of money. Back in the day, it's like, that's a lot of money.
Well, let me clarify also for the people that are watching. The South Side parties were different from the Southwest parties, right? They were even for the music wise, it was a little different.
Huge. So I think on the South Side, like I think by and you say it, but again, it's the different places that you go to. Okay, so like far south, I just felt more people were like into the freestyle music, which is we'll get later in the show. Me and you did freestyle event, but they were more into the freestyle. It was Southwest, we felt, was a little bit more open to the new, but then Southwest too had, again, I'm saying 55th and Pulaski, they were more open to, the cumbia, the South Side where I'm from, further south. Indiana, they were really big into freestyle. Like if you wanted cumbia, you were gonna go to like, maybe Pepe's. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. So, but I was gonna say that as far as the stuff you were playing and the crowd you were playing to. That's what I know the communities out there, because obviously in that your area it's majority Mexican, right?
Yes.
First and second generation. And that was what it was. So in the Mexican community, obviously they want their cumbias, norteñas, but then you had your kids, right? And you had their kids who didn't want uncle's music, and they wanted something that was different. And they basically said, I don't want to listen to it. I want, even though they heard it, they still their freestyle. And I think that was a real big movement out there.
Huge.
And I remember because it was there was a couple of CD stores out there or there was one CD store that I remember out there. So.
Yeah, the bomb that was in Indiana. That was one. At the River Oaks Mall, they used to have CD shops there. Which you remember, I think that's how me and you got incorporated. I did a lot of the I'm sure there was some people prior to me. Again, I'm not trying to not give them credit. It's just I can't remember. But, I did a lot of freestyle events on the South Side, you know what I mean? And it was because a lot of them were breaking up from the diversity of it,
You seen a gap, or you seen
there was a huge gap, like literally, it's just huge gap, you know what I mean? Like over here, you couldn't get the party going unless you played them the same. And you know what? Honestly, Preto, as a DJ, it's difficult, you know what I mean? Because again, you have, good friends, say me and you, we can't play the same record, you know what I mean? Yeah. And we can't be getting mad about playing the same record either, you know what I'm saying? So it was like prior to the party, like, hey, bro, you got to stick to this, Hey, bro, I'm sorry, Preto, that thing moved. I said prior to that, you kind of got to, be strategic about what you're going to play too, like, hey, you got to stick to that one. You got to play this, you got to play that. So, and then not everybody could play freestyle, till like Sean Paul came about, and then everybody wanted reggae, right. But yeah, I mean, it's very tricky. It's out here, man. It's just, even to this day, man, it's huge, like if you think Southside, man, like, you're always gonna, if you throw on Yolanda or something, you probably get something going.
Well, I also know that, and let's be realistic about the fact that if you lived that far southeast or east side or whatever you want to call it, a lot of times the neighborhood wouldn't come to downtown, or wouldn't come because, obviously if you're going to party and drinking, you don't want to get pulled over by cops or anything.
Right.
So you had your little neighborhood that you basically, I call it your area that everybody kind of knew. Everybody knew each other, probably went to the same high school, and probably went to, they knew each other for many, many years. Hence, that's why I was talking about Boogeyman and his area, because I remember when I first met Boogeyman, I knew he was from South Chicago.
Yeah.
What was the hall that he used to play at over there in South Chicago?
Well, you know what? On the South Side, there was the hall that was on South Chicago Avenue.
Well, yeah.
They used to do events under the the older, obviously, MCC. It's not there. There was an old hall that they used to do events there, which was on 91st and I want to say Exchange. You know what I mean? And then there was also what's the man? I forgot the one on the east side. My buddy's dad used to do a lot of islands there too. I forgot. I don't know how many quinceañeras I went to there. I just don't know the name of the like White Palace or something. I forgot. You know what I mean? But I think that would have been. Is that something that he might have mentioned, or is it the one? I'm assuming it's the one by South Chicago.
Right.
I think where he used to do his events. Yeah, like on South Chicago Avenue.
That was kind of the first time I remember him being there, and this was way back and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it had to do with me going to meet up some breakdancers that were out there.
That's where it had to be.
That's where it was. Because I know we had a crew of floor masters out there towards you guys. Yes. I remember that.
I
It was
used to do that, even though I'm heavy set now. I used to love doing that. I used to go to the malls and do that. I used to think it was it. I mean, back then, you remember all the shops started bringing back all those Puma suits, the Adidas
yeah,
suits,
yep,
the fat shoelaces. Is like,
yeah.
if you were accustomed to it, and right now they're playing the Last Stand. You had Jordan '84, so it's like people were, this stuff started coming back. It's like people, of course, you started digging it back again. So a lot of
I
break
know.
dancers.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
it was just amazing because one of the guys that, as my friend, he tagged me on his Daryl. He tagged me on his the break dancers,
Yeah.
and I think it's a list of 80 break dancers groups that were here in Chicago, and I'm like, holy shit! I mean, trust me,
Yeah.
and because since I was one of the first ones, obviously when it came to the breakdancing, we were limited to what we knew because there was no internet back then.
Correct.
So we knew
No, no.
who was
Right.
bad,
By flyer or
yeah,
by word of mouth or a phone call.
or
Yeah. Somebody had to
battling
have
us.
25 cents.
Or who wanted
We
to
got
battle us?
quarters.
That was it. That's how we knew. Like,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
guy
Who
comes
was the
up and
battle? Yeah.
yeah, that's how you kind of knew there was a new. Oh, these guys are from DTR, and we were like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? And they go, down to rock. Okay, all right, we
Down to
know
rock.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, just
The
in
brickheads. Shout out to the brickheads. Yeah, they were
general.
they were big out here too for a while. Some of them from Indiana, some of them from out south. They were, big into break dancing too. That was huge. It was
That
huge.
was very huge.
It was the
Well,
best.
but at the time when I was doing it, and that was the 82 to like 87, you weren't breakdancing that. You came in the
No.
generation afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
know I know there's a lot of people that came afterwards. There was a
Yeah,
uh,
like I think I was probably more listening. I was probably more intrigued by that whole NWA movement back then. You know what I mean? Around that time, you know what I mean? To the LL Cool J's, you know what I mean? So like but yeah, like the doing it was more like when you mentioned that, it started coming about right after that. So of
right.
course, being young, you start seeing these people just kind of bring out these cardboard boxes, oh, don't throw them out. They go to the back of the store, oh, I got them. And then, you see people doing it like right in the front. And then you're a small, like the movies, you're a small kid, you're intrigued, or, all of a sudden somebody busts out into a flare or a helicopter. It's like, holy cow, you think they're part of the Olympics.
And thank God that they're going to the Olympics. Breakdancing is going to the Olympics now, so that's
Yeah, yeah.
full circle. Which is good. You know,
Mm-hmm.
shouts out to Miguel Tech out there because he made sure that it happened. Um,
Yeah.
so here you are, right? After high school, you're doing these parties. Are you doing mobile gigs or are you doing mostly the house
I
parties?
did start, because again, of course, people start to ask you, hey, can you do mobile gigs? First, it starts with the family members, of course. Then it starts with cousins, and hey, can you do these gigs? And then you just start to incorporate it. So, of course, I started doing the mobile gigs when you start acknowledging how, profitable they could be. You know what I mean? Um, so of course you start kind of, not only that, you start stepping up your game with the mobile gigs. But I'll be honest, Beto, like, look, as soon as I was done doing the house basement parties, like I had already felt there was revenue in that. And I'll be honest, I'm gonna share the story with whoever's there. And they kept calling the cops, you know what I mean? So again, you start generating towards the halls. And then your dad was not going to go rent you the hall, you know what I mean? So you start trying to get these halls on your own. So then some of the hall owners start to get fresh to it, and they're like, oh, well, we really don't. And I never understood, you know what I mean? Like, no, we can't let you do a house party. Let's just say a house party. We can't let you do a house party at the hall, but it was okay to do a baile. Están muchos jóvenes, too much trouble. And you're thinking to yourself, like, dude, you do bailes every week, man. You guys, everyone gets into at the island. Like, what are you talking about? So then it just started to generate into the hall. And then I started doing this place out here, which is kind of closer to Cal City, which was called Joey D's back in the day, and it was a bar, So again, shout out to the owner. May he rest in peace. He did pass out or pass away, but I promise you, I went in there one day. I was like, look, we can't keep doing. And his place was like half was a bar, and then the other half was like a hall. You know what I mean? So by then you're talking, I'm already trending to the 19, 20, 21, So of course I have a lot of my friends were older friends. So of course a lot of them are already 21, So after that, like literally I went like in a 3-piece suit, man. I went in a tie. I had my vest. I had my overcoat. I had my hair combed really nice back. And I asked the place, hey, I want to rent your place. I do events on the weekends, real professional, man. I didn't want to be, hood or ghetto about it, And yeah, I hear, your place is, I start using all the keywords. Oh, your place is in a great location. I love the parking, and then I'm assuming, how's your bar doing? Of course, that's your key intro, right? That's how Fridays, it's okay. We probably get about 10, 20 people, back, if it's a regular neighborhood bar, 10, 20 people, 20 people on a Friday, man, the bartender's going to make decent tips, you're not crying about it. Other bars, of course, got 100 people, but again, these are more neighborhood bars, but this is spacious. This was spacious, and I saw the potential. And literally I was probably like 19 going 20, and then I'm like, oh, well, how about, and I had a little extra change in my pocket. I said, how about if I rent out your place every Friday? The guy was Italian. And then he's like, rent out my place every Friday? Like, he's like, well, what kind of parties you're looking to do? I was like, well, look, some of them could, just regular gatherings, college events, you know what I mean? I try to keep it as professional as I could, so you don't say, no, I don't want that. And then he's like, well, how many people are you thinking about? I'm like, well, look, at the end of the day, he's like, well, let's get this straight. It's got to be 21 and over. I said, hey, 21 and over. I said, but we could probably do, I don't know. I'm shying it here. I'm saying, 60, 80, maybe. He's like, well, I'm not going to hire security. Oh, don't worry. We'll hire security. And we did. We hired security. Man, that place started taking off, man. You're talking about 100, 200 people. The guy was making so much money. And then I already knew. I was like, oh, man, you know what I mean? So, like, I think I trended more towards the event, let's just call it professional event planning purpose versus the mobile, you know what I mean? Like the mobile, right. I think I started concentrating on it, like, more, mobile was more so a favor hobby to one of my buddies who probably needed someone, liked how we DJ'd, because again, you probably have some homies, but you might not like how they DJ. He's like, hey, he's not going to be good enough for the wedding. Maybe the bautizo, but not the wedding, man. So, but that's how I started. I didn't necessarily go into the mobile DJ right away. I think I went more into the clubbing aspect. Obviously the place went down because we were getting too packed. And believe it or not, they found out I wasn't even of age, and then the owner, and I felt so bad. He looked at me, he's like, man, I was like, well, look, what do you want me to do? If I told you I was 19, 20, you would have never gave me the place. He's like, but you were so professional. And I was like, well, hey.
Hey, I'm still professional.
Yeah, I'm still professional. You made a lot of money. You probably made more money off me. You know what I mean? Like, hold on, sorry. Like, you probably made more money off me in about 5-6 months than, you know what I mean? Or it was going for over a year. You know what I mean? And he did, man. He did. Like, all of a sudden, like, as the months, man, he started fixing up the hall more. You know what I mean? You could tell, it's just a huge difference. I mean, the guy wouldn't even bother me, and he just probably come and collect and he would leave, which is the best type of owners. You know what I mean? Hey, don't bother me. Just come collect and leave, But that's how I think that's where it trended.
And then what did you do after that? I mean, so now you're 20 years old, right?
Yeah. You know what? A lot of the from there it is, as you know, is the expansion. You know what I mean? You want to start working in promotions. And what you probably know, Gonzo. I worked with Gonzo. We started like this marketing, company. We'd hire a few models. He was getting some really good gigs, man. Like he was getting, gigs for like to do like, let's just say, for instance, we did Juanes, we did Mana at the Allstate. So we'd hire the whole, which I know you've done before. We'd hire the whole marketing group with the models. You know what I mean? Have them pass out, may it be Sprint, Dentine, Gum, or whatever. You know what I mean? So at that point is when you start realizing, the marketing aspect. You know what I mean? To think like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do an event or marketing at the Allstate, and we can get you backstage. Well, honestly, you don't think about it, but that's where it started to evolve, so more of the promotions, I think, started coming about. I think that's when I started taking more of the promotions, marketing, and even the sound and DJing even more serious, because you knew how important it was, and how much it could literally, escalate, where you're at, you know what I mean? So got a chance to take a few trips, you know what I mean? Got a chance to go to different places, experience different um, venues, work with a lot of great people in the industry, may it be through, and back then, you were able to do cigarettes. So cigarettes were very popular, so you did events for Cools, and Cools was doing real cool events. I remember we did an event for Cools, and it was like Slick Rick and Common, man. You know what I mean? It was like, dude, it was cool. You know what I mean? And then I forgot who
Well,
else we did.
because the cigarette
Yeah.
the cigarette companies had a lot of money. Oh shit,
Huge. I
money.
mean,
So
dude, they were,
they were doing it out.
hell, man, I throw it out, dude. Back then, they were paying the models $25 an hour, man. Like back then, you know what I mean? Like shit, who knows what they're paying them now? And I haven't really done that in a while, but yeah, I'm sure it's at the, they're contractors. I'm sure it's like $40 an hour. I don't know, and I'm hoping they get paid well. I hope you do. If any models are, hope you guys are getting good. But I mean, the events that they were putting together, you know what I mean? And they technically, a lot of them, as you know, were out of town companies. So they had no clue who was in town, but this is the criteria specifics that they wanted you to provide. And a lot of the times, you had to send them pictures. They had to agree to who they liked, who they wanted to be there, so, hey, of course you had to get people's social security numbers and all that good stuff. But, again, they got paid. Sometimes it took some of them a while, but, once they got the check, they were like, whoa, that's a good, stimulus check. It's a COVID check. So that's where it trended then, with the promotion aspects and stuff like that.
Well, I remember that was one of the things that I guess one of the aspects of the nightclub business that was very prominent, that you had outside companies. And like I said, you said about the cigarette companies, but I remember there were companies like the movie companies that would hire promotions and stuff like that.
We did that too. We had
Right,
posters. They hire you to put up the posters. They give you movie tickets. They do grand premieres of the movie. They wanted you to put people into these or private screenings, I should say, I guess. You know what I mean? They wanted you to put people in these private screenings. And I mean, I'm assuming they still do it, and it's still,
it's
pretty
like
big.
That much. But they do it like that much when it comes to the industry.
Yeah.
I know there's like, they have one guy, I think, doing it now in Chicago, one guy. And I see him, he does it and stuff like that. I think there's another promotional guy doing it online. But it's just, I think they're limited now because they're looking at other different ways to reach people. And I guess since Facebook came into play, they figured, oh yeah, let's just put the money in Facebook, and it's gonna bring in more people and stuff like that. But because I think for us, it was more organic in the marketing wise. It was organic because it was hands-on, meaning that you got the flyer passed to you personally and stuff like that. You got the picture you took of the person getting the flyer, and they got it, and it was all done, like I said, organically. Where now it's all like, or let's play Facebook and boost it.
Yeah.
That's changed in this market.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And, you know, I'm glad you said the organic piece, and I wanted to touch upon that, you know, just a tad bit, you know, very small, minor part of it, you know, honestly, the organic piece, I think it's something that, you know, um, anyone who is tenured, you know what I mean, would I think appreciate more, you know, which I feel that having that organic piece makes it um hell, let's just use those two words together, man. Being organic helps you stay tenured. You know what I mean? Like, because you kind of know that if you fall, you know how to get back up. You know what I mean? You don't
well, this
depend, you know.
this show's a perfect example.
That's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. You know, like even when you told me the lineup, I'm like, yeah, Pinto probably went through his phone, called all the good people. But that's what I'm talking about. You know, I mean, you know, that's what led to even me. Like if I went out of town, like literally, like if I go to maybe Miami, Las Vegas, you call it, man. Like if I knew that these were, you know, like let's just say Tony, you know, one of the owners from Crowbar, you know, like I knew him personally, but it was a personal aspect. It was organic. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
literally, I went to Miami and then they had the Crowbar over there. Dude, the line was like almost 2 blocks long. You know what I mean? And then
Right.
Tony's like, "Hey, no matter where you go, there's the little small green Crowbar business cards." You know what I mean? I'm not sure if you remember the little lime green
Yep. Yep.
Crowbar.
Yep.
And it
Yep.
was
Yep.
Tony. I mean, it was Tony's card. You know. And then I went in there and then it's funny story. When you know, with some of my friends, I'm like, let's just, you know, I'm like, let me just try, because you know, we don't always try to, you know, use these cards, but when it was a necessity, and you're like, hey man, like you know, but if you came to my event, hey, here's my card, just show it at the door, dude. You don't have to wait. But it was just out of respect, you know what I mean? Like, look, dude, you don't have to wait. Or like you, hey, you know, Jared, here's a card, you know what I mean? You don't have to wait, just come on, you and your Wi-Fi come in, you know what I mean? And like, look, dude, I gave him the car, dude. Literally, dude, I didn't have to wait. Like, they had all these people with all this, and that's the incredible piece, man. All these people with all this money, dude, pulling up on all these cars, they still had to wait in line, man. I gave this guy that card. I didn't even think it was gonna work. I'm like, I'm from Chicago, you know what I mean, dude? Like this guy, the security grabbed the card, said, Tony. He had no clue who he was. Goes inside the club. And then this old school Italian cat comes out. Literally looks like he really from the Goodfellas movie, you know, with the little white sideburns, you know. And then he's like, Tony. He's like, how do you know Tony? You know. And then I was like, oh, you know, I worked with him out here, and you know, back in the day too. You know, Prieto, I'm not too sure if you remember. I used to work like on 63rd at Marchor, so he used to take a lot of his equipment to go get fixed there too. You know. Um,
Yes,
but besides
I
that, I
remember.
did, yeah,
Yeah.
and I used to do a lot of the events with him too. And then I never
Those
used
damn
it. He just,
those
yeah,
damn pioneers.
and New Marks, Gemini's, you know. And then I never used it, and then I used it. Dude, the guy comes out there like if he wants to beat me up for having his card, and I thought to myself, yeah, man, I'm like, you know what, man? I told him like, look, man, if you're not gonna let us in, it's all good, man. You know, the guy gave me the card, you know, and he's a good friend, and I know him from back home. He's like, well, where are you from? I said, well, I told your guy, we're from Chicago, you know. And then he's like, oh, okay, dude. He's like, oh, no. I'm like, look, dude, if you want to listen, it's okay. Just give me the card back. You know what I mean? It's all good. You know what I mean? You know, you used to keep the wallet fat, you know? All kinds of cards in there. You know, oh, no, dude. Right away. No. Come on in. Who are you with? Dude, people are just staring, you know, because I literally, dude, Miami's a whole different world. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
And he's
know.
like,
I
come on,
know.
yeah, come on in. Tells the security guard, hey, these guys, get them, dude, on the house, get them on the house, send them into VIP, dude.
Yep.
It was like, what the? And then my guy's like, well, how do you know him? I'm like, dude, I just know him from personal, organic relationships. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, I never thought that, you know. And dude, it was a great night, you know what I mean? But again, more insight to it is just the simple fact of how simple, you know, like you said, the organic piece, just to little business card back in the day. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, oh, then you must know him. You know?
Well, I mean, it's just funny because for a long time, I mean, everybody knows me as Prieto, right?
Yeah.
But when I had so many people, when they come up to the door and they say, "Hey, is Angelo here?"
Yeah.
They'd be like,
Yeah. Who?
"Who's Angelo?"
Who?
I mean,
Prieto.
well, and then they don't because everybody from the old school days calls me Angelo, right?
Right.
They
Right.
never called me Prieto. They never called
Right.
Prieto. And I only when I got into the Latin aspect of it, so half of my career was Angelo first, and then they came
Yes.
Prieto, which is both my
Yeah.
names. But it was just funny because I people come up to the door and they says, "Oh, is Angelo here?" And then he says, "So they're asking for this guy named Angelo. Who's Angelo?"
Mm-hmm.
And I go, "Me." I go, and then I'll be like, obviously, if you said the name Angelo, you knew me from before the
Yeah.
Latin. You knew
Yeah.
me from. So I mean, I get it. That's just like I'm sure the business card was Tony's card. Probably never gave it out again, and that's probably an old school card. And he's like, "Wait a minute,
And I found a bunch of old ones, and I found this card, and it was just, it's just those stories, man, that you relive. You're like, wow, you know what I mean? I think they ended up changing the crowbar name to Cameo, man, but it was just, it was awesome,
And I went there, and I remember that, and I went there. I was there.
Yeah.
I was there in South Beach.
Yes,
So
right on. What is it?
I know.
I don't think it was Lincoln or Washington.
Washington
Yeah,
Street.
yeah, Washington Street. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was I want to say it's like 407 South Washington or something like that.
It would be because it was by like the 200. I think we were like we were staying, we didn't stay in fancy hotels. They were expensive, but we were staying like you're right, like on 300, because I think Nikki Beach was like on 100
right
Washington Street or something too, which is another great. I don't even know if they have those clubs out there anymore, but great great communication, great plugs to have.
Oh no, I know. I've been there, and same guys from Crowbar, same thing, when they opened up, it was impressive.
Yeah.
But I didn't know Tony. I knew what's his name, his partner more.
Yeah.
Cal. I knew Cal back in the days and stuff. If you all know,
and that's
Cal,
what I mean. Tony never really came out that much. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right,
So that's why a lot of that's why I think I got questioned. Well, how do you? And I know he told, hey, if you ever want to go over there to Crowbar, just show him the card. Yeah, I'm like, oh, you're gonna be there. He's like, oh man, I don't go to that stuff. He was older, he's like, I don't go to that stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, sure.
I ran into Tony. Was it about 4 years ago over at the I think it was not Crowbar anymore. It was something else, whatever the place is now, or Shelter or whatever it was called, or something, whatever new name was.
It changed it too. Yeah.
I just ran into him, and I and I was like, and I've known of him, but I've never met him until that day. And I was like, oh yeah, I can see, older gentleman, doesn't care about cares about the money, doesn't care about the business.
That's it. I'm telling you, like when I would take care of him, that's all it was. It was very professional, dude. Hey, JR, you always knew me. Hey, JR, you got it from here? Yep, I got it from here, man. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Just simple, man. Like that. You would never, like, again, those would be, like you could tell that those people were, what you probably worked with too, the Boards family too, I worked, what was it, Mark, I guess? Mark
and his dad.
Dude, I worked with his dad.
Right.
His dad explored the South Side out here heavy. He even opened up a few clubs out here that, I forgot what it was called, Club Jaguar. Dude, I think was like the trend of how a lot of these new clubs came about to be, bro. Where it was like,
you mean they named the club after cars?
Yeah.
Dude, no, I'm just saying,
dude.
Because, well, dude, why? Because his family was in the car business. That's why.
Dude. It was prime spot. It's still a prime spot. It was like on 147, right off the expressway, dude, right on the corner. You know, and you know the Borch family. You know, it's prime location, dude, and the city wasn't messing with him anyways either. You know what I mean? And like, you know, like what you had like on the far south hundreds, dude, were like a lot of really nice clubs, but they were strip clubs. You know what I mean? His wasn't a strip club, but it looked like a strip club, and it was not a neighborhood bar. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of like which obviously, let's just be realistic. You know, they brought the club north side to the south side. You know what I mean? Which is what a lot of south side, let's just say, investors weren't really looking to do. They were trying to make the fast buck. You know, I would say, you know, or you had good neighborhood places, you know what I mean? Like a Pepe's, or, you know, remember the Guadalajara, or a good restaurant that would have a great night, but not a fancy nightclub on the south side. You know what I'm saying? And he did that. And I worked with him, you know what I mean? And I think he was my plug too to a lot of other places up north. You know what I mean? Not only up north, I mean, he had places where in Schaumburg, and dude, I don't know where they have a lot. You might know better than me, you know, but yeah, I personally work with the, you know, with the dad, and that was my, again,
I
another.
think the last time I worked with Mark was working with him at Sangria when he had
Well,
Sangria.
that he had the sangria, and then the hey, dude, they owned the whole block, you know, right?
Right.
They owned Joe's, right? And then they owned,
Right.
what was that, that beach, or the North Beach, you know what I mean? Remember North Beach? And then they owned that other place where Eddie and Jopo, you know, used to get down at too, over there by Navy Pier, you know what I mean? So I mean, again, an organic relationship, you know what I mean,
Right.
that you know excels now, you know.
Mark still stays current with the Christmas things that they do, and you
Yeah.
know, the satellite events that they do over there at
Hmm.
like, Red Dragon or whatever it was called. I mean,
Oh my God, remember that?
yeah.
Yeah. They had all that down packed, man. You know what I mean? And heck, you never knew who they were. They never really introduced themselves like, "Hey, I'm, you know, the owner." You know, everyone else kind of ran the nights. You know what I mean? They were, you know, good business people. You know, that's how you should do it. You know. Mm-hmm.
So let's go to what you're currently doing now, or where's your industry into what you're doing now as far as the beat crushers
Yeah.
aspect of it.
Well, the beat crushers came about, I want to say, maybe going a little bit over 5 years now. So it's just kind of a multitude of things, you know what I mean? But it was just past groups, experiences, production. As you see, we, you know, kind of, as a DJ, you start to kind of dabble, trickle into all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Doing production,
Musician, recording,
okay.
production. You know what I mean? And I mean, if you're a music enthusiast, you want to learn more, anyways. You know what I mean? Which, you know, later on when I did move forward, because I did end up going to, you know, I went to Colombia for a little bit. It was expensive, very. Then I went to, on the south side, Kennedy King. Believe it or not, I went to Kennedy King, Englewood. So if you can't say I didn't go to Englewood, I graduated from Englewood and I loved it. You know, went to Kennedy King over there. I graduated in TV radio production. I was actually, you know, and God bless Mr. Brown, Professor Brown. I was like one of the only Hispanics there, man. You know what I mean? He's like, "Hey, JR," he's like, "Yeah, man, you know what, man?" He's like, "You think you could play some of that?" You know, that's when Elvis Crespo was hot. You know what I mean? So you think you could play some of that, like, Latin tunes, man, like some of that, you know, Elvis Crespo merengue stuff. You know, if we opened up a show for you, like on WKKC 89.3. So I was technically, realistically, if I'm correct, man, and I'm just basing it off what he said, I was the first actual Latin personality on WKKC. Okay, a full Latin show, maybe not the Latin personality, but full Latin show where we were playing on 89.3. You're talking now what 2005, 2004, 2005, where and you had greats like Pink House, you know what I mean, and a lot of other good greats that came out of WKKC radio and then worked on WGCI, WKK, not only WKKC Power 92, the whole show, you know what I mean. They moved on to bigger and greater, but like our show was dedicated to doing just Latin music, like stuff what you were playing, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'm in it, I'm good. I'll do it, yeah, of course. So then it kind of started evolving with the radio, which is, like I said, a music enthusiast. Then you start kind of getting into the production, stuff like that. So it's a combination of everything that we were doing from prior to me working with DJs, to me working with artists, to marketing. So kind of Beat Crushers is a whole thing. I didn't want to necessarily, it's something that me and my brother, DJ Leo Giudanero, started. And it was, something that we didn't want to necessarily make it a DJ group. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, we're like, look, Beat Crushers could be anyone who's a beat crusher. You know what I mean? Like, it could be a DJ, it could be an artist, it could be a producer, you know what I mean? Or it could be anyone, an entity, a company, you know what I mean? Like Los Cuatro Fantásticos. You can't necessarily say Los Cuatro Fantásticos is just a bunch of DJs because it's a company. It's an aspect of everything that's part of music, maybe marketing, promotion, so that's where Beat Crush started coming about. So to fast forward to what you're asking, so we kind of started to re-trigger not only on the like freestyle, none of that stuff like that, but I am working with a lot of the Latino hip-hop artists.
Okay.
I work with a lot of first and foremost, for years, and I know you remember Beta DJ that time is for years, man, and I did karaoke there, everything, man, and I worked with a lot of artists, and then I started just putting together a lot of showcases, and I said to myself, man, how come the and I'm just gonna say the Latino hip hop market, you know what I mean, out in the Midwest, I said Midwest, doesn't do these type of shows, you know what I mean? Is there just not enough of us? Or is there not enough,
I think what happened, and only because of the fact that I was at the Latin Billboard conference,
right.
and Aquid was there, and Pitbull was there,
yeah,
and so here you had kind of both ends of the spectrum, but
Mhm.
they were, that's what even Pitbull and I we talked about that, how we're like, well, you guys are on the East Coast and you guys on the West Coast, and Chicago kind of is in the middle, and it kind of gets, we're kind of the stepchild of that scene, the Latin
Nothing.
hip hop, the Latin
Nothing.
hip hop. That was addressed at the
Yeah.
Billboard. That was addressed that year at the Billboard. This is before Pitbull got was big or anything like that. This was when the reggaeton market was getting big.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
Daddy Yankee and stuff like that, and obviously Latin trap wasn't even a word that came out of anybody. Trap music wasn't even. And I remember that was where I think it was. I'm not sure if it was you that did the show here.
For the Aquid one, last October, yes.
Yeah, no. But
that was my show.
But I'm talking about in the 2000, maybe 10, 11. Was the
no? I think that was if I'm right, man. My buddy Mike might have said it was probably Wicked. Was it? I think he used to work with them at Congress. Remember, they used to do.
Right.
They used to do like 3-6, not 3-6 Mafia, but like Bone Thugs and Harmony events back in the day. Twister. You know what I mean? Right. And they worked a lot with with Quinto Sol, which is shout out to Quinto Sol too.
Right. Yep.
God blessing. They reached out to me maybe about 2 years ago, man. So I started putting together. They wanted someone solid, from the Midwest.
Just in case they don't know who Quinto Sol is, they're from Milwaukee.
They are. They're originated. Now they always like to say, they're original. I think they grew up around the Pilsen area, and then their family migrated to Milwaukee. But they are from Milwaukee. You know, it's just at heart they always represent
Waukegan area.
Waukegan area. Yeah, at heart they always represent, you know, Chicago. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Which again, they would be like realistically, like I tell people, like, hey, name, you know, if you could, you know, name 10 Latin artists from New York. Oh yeah, you know, Fat Joe. Okay, name 10 from the West Coast. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, you know, Get Fraud. You know, they know them. Like name somebody from the Midwest. Nobody. You know, there was no blank besides if it was like a Latino hip hop artist. Besides, you know, Quinto Sol. You know what I mean? Los Marihuanas too. They were from Indiana too, but you know, but you remember them too. They had their little mixtapes and things, but there were nothing really. And still to this day, you know, I'll be honest, you know, shout out to Quinto Sol, but nothing to this day can you say stands out in the Midwest.
I think when Latin trap came with Bad Bunny and doing what he did, and the breakthrough of the what you call it, I think people. It almost.
And I never got that. You know, I mean, it could drop, but I never. Like this is my thing. Like, I never got how you would, or anyone, or a magazine. Okay, and I'm gonna say you could be rude, you could crucify me for it. I never got how you would call him like the king of Latin trap and not dig because, you know, I'm going to be going to, you know, which we'll get later to show, but I'm going to be going to Atlanta in the end of July to meet up with Latino hip hop artists. But I just don't understand how you just completely take that. You know what I mean? Like you guys got the idea because you were hearing some of these independent local artists that were Latino do what the mainstream Latin, you know, or not Latin, but the mainstream hip hop artists were doing. They were doing it too, like similar, like in, you know, I don't want to deviate too much from it, but like drill music, you got Latinos, Latino rappers in Chicago that do drill music too. How you just gonna give it to someone else? You know what I mean?
Jr. I'll give you an example. I'm gonna give you.
Yes.
Okay. Before Pitbull was Pitbull.
Yes.
There was someone in Chicago doing it before Pitbull was doing it, and I told him.
Who was it?
I told him, you need to move out of Chicago.
Oh, that was the key.
Right.
Everyone told him that. Everyone told everyone that.
And if you went to Miami, you would be the hit. And I don't think there would be Pitbull if Dino Latino would have just stayed.
Dino. Yeah.
Dino Latino was doing basically, you know, doing what Pitbull got him famous.
Big shout out to Dino Latino. You know what? And I'm sorry if I didn't forget about you, Dino. But you know what? As you know, Dino was very prominent in the business for nightlife. You know what I mean? And he was successful at it. So it's like you kind of forget that he, you know, and you're so right. I mean, dude, he was at all the Pan American fests and everything. Yeah, right. Dino was it, man. Yeah, he sure was. You're absolutely right.
And it was Dino and I have it's a funny story between us, but it was funny because I knew who he was, and he knew about me because of the mixtapes and CDs, and that was all he knew about me because I never had my picture in the CDs. So he said, as at that moment he was being his little playboy self, he said every car that he got into, he seen my CD there.
I did. Like, I think everybody had
DJ Prieto. He's like, and that made him curious. So when he finally
don't tell nobody. I will play some at the wedding, but you just put too many drops. Okay, yeah, but yeah, it was good stuff, man. Yeah,
and that's how Dino and I met. You know, because of the fact that I had, he told me, he goes, dude, you're in every woman's car.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and then, then when we got to kind of knew each other, and then I heard his music, and I told him, I said, and because my family had a condo out in South Beach, and that's where I was talking to the reggaeton market and doing the whole reggaeton thing, and I had heard and seen about Pitbull, what like his what he was doing out there, but it wasn't even close to what he was doing now. And I remember telling Dino, "Hey man, if you really want to make it, you got to get out of Chicago, man. You got to go to
Mm-hmm.
Miami." And I remember he had his
Mm-hmm.
manager out there, and I told him, I said, "Nah, man, you got to go out there, man, because that's where that's how you're gonna make it big." But I know he had his
Yeah.
family here, his brother here, and stuff like that. He had the club here, Chromium.
So you're saying they told Dino to go to Miami?
No, I told him to go to Miami.
Oh yeah, because Pitbull was already from over there, from
Right,
Calle
right.
Ocho. Yeah, so
But
I
that's what I'm
agree.
saying.
I agree with you
if he would,
200%. I mean, even to this day, I'm sure you're fully aware.
so what
The
I'm saying
freestyle
is,
events in Miami are huge.
right. So
Yeah,
what that's why I say with Bad Bunny and the Latin trap, I think it had a combination of the fact that this guy was, it's like because he was so different of a rapper, and vocally he was so different. It was vocally he was very,
I think it was the melodic aspect that kind of drew them in.
well, I mean,
Which
because like
is
I
kind of
said,
like the trap started shifting. It didn't start sounding like rap. You know what I mean? It wasn't like
correct.
hardcore heavy rap. He started adding more, melodic sense to it. Honestly, dude, I'm a big Zion and Lennox fan. He sounded like Zion to me. He had like a upgrade of Zion, not an upgrade. I'm not gonna say that. So I'm gonna rephrase that. He just sounded like a update of what Zion was doing. Yaki and Maka back in the day. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're right. He kind of. I think more so, man. He I think he attracted more the female base. You know what I mean? Which
Well,
is a plus, obviously.
yeah, obviously, because I mean,
It's a
we know
plus.
we know that even with the reggaeton market, there was Tego Calderon, Vico C,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
there's tons of these guys.
Two of
Yeah.
my favorites that you just named that a lot of people don't give them any credit. And you know what, dude? It's got to be an original like you to say that. Those were two of my favorites, man. Tego Calderon and Vico C. And I remember seeing Vico C, to tell you the truth, at Chromium with Dino and them. Dino had gave me the tickets. Yep. And I'd like, dude, I'm a huge fan of Vico. Like, dude, yeah, you want to come? Yeah, hell yeah, I want to go. Huge fan, man. You know what I mean? So again, yeah, that's where.
And then here comes Daddy Yankee, pretty boy to the women and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
so they play it. Yeah.
Obviously, or it becomes a visual besides being vocally,
right. Right.
Audio. And I think that's where things should change in this industry and marketing wise, because obviously Bad Bunny with the trap and stuff.
Right.
Marketing player. It's the same thing. We can go into the pop aspect of it. Lady Gaga, beautiful voice, beautiful talent and stuff like that. But they told her you have to do something unique. And what does she do? She does the wow factor.
She does the whole Madonna. She's again update Madonna update.
Right. And she became.
Madonna was it back in the day, so she did the Madonna update. Yep.
See, Al, if you would have brought Madonna, you would have been even more famous.
Just like we say, man, if there was only Facebook back in the day, we would have killed it.
Yeah, I know.
We probably would have.
So you're doing the Bee Crushers, and so you're producing more now. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, and that's what it is. I think a lot of more the producing and shows too. I kind of, team of people, artists, producers. Shout out to Swan. He's one of the artists that works partners with Bee Crushers, and then shout out to Prophet. They're from Detroit. Okay, a lot of Latino rappers in Detroit, or artists, hip hop artists in Detroit. And there's a small section which is Southwest Detroit, which we've done numerous shows there. So I started venturing to Detroit because, again, I did it at the end of the day, like what me and you were talking about, Peter. Like, if something's gonna happen in the Midwest, it can't be done just with Chicago. I think the resources on the West Coast to the resources in the East Coast is just, they have too many resources. You know what I mean? And you're right, we get looked at like as a stepchild. So you gotta bring people together, So we done shows in Indianapolis. A lot of Latino artists in Indianapolis. Shout out to them. Detroit, Kansas. As I mentioned, we're looking to go to Atlanta, and expand more in Atlanta, and just kind of bring together more light to some of the independent artists out here. Some of those that probably don't get the same attention. And then let's just be realistic, that don't get the same attention that you would if you're from, they can say whatever they want all day, but you're not going to get the same attention that you would from LA. You're not going to get the same attention that you would in New York. That's just, just bigger markets for them, and again, like what we said, well, yeah, even like, and Texas too, big shout out to Chingo Bling. He does big things over there, but see, he's a marketing guy, he knew, hey man, let's kind of shift it everywhere. You know what I mean? So,
here, but in your case, I'm going to use the example of what I do, what you should be doing, or what you're going to do is, let's be honest here, Chicago is not a tropical market. Absolutely zero. No. There's no tropical radio station. There's no tropical marketing. So like the whole thing is that I decided to take tropical to I become the radio station.
Yeah.
And that's why I do 5 nights a week. I would suggest that if you're going to do something like since you're doing the Latin hip hop, that would be something for you guys to be doing, and you become your own radio station.
Yeah.
In the sense of like that, because.
And you know what? Not only that though, Peter, it's kind of just and I agree with you. I agree. I just think it's got to be, how can I say, at the end of the day, okay. Now this is the distinct factor here, okay. So when me, okay, from Chicago, travel to, let's just say, Miami, Las Vegas, New York, Atlanta, Indiana, Detroit, bro, they love Chicago. You understand what I mean? It's just, I just want to touch on what you said. It's just, I don't know if Chicago's understanding, you know what I mean? And I know sometimes we'll use the word unity, but like, I just don't think Chicago in general is all in tune with each other. I'm not deciding to leave Chicago. I feel like in order for it to work, I have to expand and probably bring more to Chicago so some people could kind of wake up. But literally, like, if you go to any other city and you tell them you're from Chicago too, just like, they're like, oh my God, you're from Chicago. May it be the negative part, but there's also the positive part. You know what I mean? Like, I remember we used to go to other places. Of course, if you go to the Latin market, if you go to Miami's huge, you know what I mean? Obviously, Florida, huge. New York, huge. You know what I mean? But like, in Chicago, like, even if you went to different places, man, and you were playing house music and they knew you were from Chicago, it's like, dude, they felt like you were from the Mecca. You know what I mean? They're like, oh my God, yeah, like, dude, like, you probably know how to blend really good, right? I'm like, dude, no. And like, dude, it said hours, bro, hours, man, hours in the basement, bro. Like, if you go out there and your shit sounds like trash, man, no one's gonna put you on. That's the whole blend. You know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's which is funny because again, I don't know. I mean, I could speculate what it could be. I could speculate that it's a lot of the times, and you can't say hating stuff anymore because it just doesn't make any sense to say, well, no. This guy hates, this guy hates, this guy hates. It's like, it's not even, it's just, there's no unity factor there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
so, but
talk to me, because I know you probably got answers.
No. Now this pandemic has hit. I think this is a reset. As I said before,
it is a reset, yes.
And I think this unity, this unity has to happen, regardless if somebody doesn't want it or not. It has to happen.
I agree.
Because we're all at this level. We are now at zero, all of us. I don't care if I'm top promoter. I don't care if you're, and I'll say Ivan Fernandez, who is, has the Aragon.
Yeah.
Zero. We're all
everybody.
At zero. Everybody's at zero. Yeah. So we're starting exactly at the same start
Same
line.
stage. Yeah, I agree.
The start line. So there's nobody's above anybody. Nobody's ahead of the game. Because we're all at the same mark right now.
Right, 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 right.
So I don't think there is there's the unity aspect of it is a must. Period.
Yes.
Because of all
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And since we're
I
touching
just think that Chicago in general, which is a big salute to you, sir, should be doing this more frequently. You understand what I mean? Like we did it back in the day, but I'll be honest. MySpace, Facebook changed people. It did. You know what I mean? You started.
Mhm.
It was not organic no more. You know what I mean? And it's not. And it's not. It's not.
Everybody,
Not. Some
everybody
certain people
became
just
a
certain
everybody
people
became a
prefer to
promoter.
text you than to call you, like me and you call. Hey man, how you been, man? You been good? Oh man, yeah. Hey. Some people don't even want to pick up the phone. You know damn well they're on the phone. You know what I mean? So it's like back in the day, Preto, if me and you wanted to make a business meeting, we sat with each other. You know what I mean? We had lunch, which we did. We had lunch together, had a few drinks together. We talked about the plans. You know what I mean? Now,
Meet me at IHOP.
yeah.
International House of Prieto.
Yeah.
Everybody,
For real.
my guys are going to know that.
Yeah. And then, but at the end of the day, it's kind of, like I said, man, you go to different cities, man. It's like, again, I'm not gonna take nothing from Chicago, man. Like they love us, I mean, they do, I mean, it's hard for me to tell you they don't when I know they do, you know what I mean? And I love them right back because I wherever it is that I may go, it's a new experience to me, you know what I mean? And anyone who's showing me love, I'm gonna show them just like any other. Oh, bro, you go out of town, they show you. But it's different when it is, certain people from Chicago. Like what you were saying, even on the South Side, you get divided 4 or 5 times before any of the South Side people really got together. You know what I mean? There were certain neutral zones and certain zones. Nah, man, we're not gonna meet over there. But similar to what you're mentioning, which I guess what I was saying is the partnership, not only like I think we have to exercise the partnership much more, and I'm glad it is a reset. So if it did reset, like people should take that into consideration. Would they listen to veterans maybe that tell them, hey, you should, you know what I mean? But you know how it is, man. People are not going to respect you unless you're doing something. You know what I mean? And sometimes they might not even have a clue, who you are,
Well,
But yeah, it would be nice if Chicago radio or the Latino market, I'm not just using hip hop, but there's a lot of wonderful artists, that sing merengue, bachata, and salsa. It'd be nice if there was a Latin radio station that would play some of their songs. You know what I mean? Like, if you go to Miami, that's what they do. You know what I mean? Like, literally, like they'll have, if it's good enough, some of those independent artists get play. In New York, some of those independent artists get play. And, I've been to Atlanta. Some of those independent artists get play. You know what I mean? In LA, if it's a good corrido band, they'll probably get play. You know what I mean? It's just, a lot of people are like, oh, you can't because a lot of the radio stations are not from Chicago, you know what I mean? And they won't support, you know what I mean? They got to bring that or that,
That's why XFM is kind of taking over a lot of
and that's good. And,
right.
and that's the key, I think, how can I say it, Prieto? I think we need to be realistic to our Chicago culture and who we are. You understand what I mean? So, like, like when we're doing these things, you know what I mean? We need to, and again, goes back to what you were mentioning. I can't necessarily say that I feel I'm going to do better elsewhere. Sometimes strategically, systematically, yeah, it probably does make sense. I might, but sometimes when you're like, homegrown, you know what I mean? You want to make the difference where you're from, I mean, hell, Kanye did it, everybody else did it, but I mean, and people say, oh yeah, he went elsewhere, but no, he was homegrown at first, you know what I mean? Like he tried to do it here first, he only expanded and then still keeps coming back here, you know what I mean? which is, that's just my thought. You know what I mean? Again, people would be like, oh, no, that's not the case.
Well, I mean, at least I'm starting it somewhere.
Yeah, you are. And
And
that's the
doing,
key. And that's the key.
so,
You are absolutely, that's why, I appreciate an interview, everyone who went on prior to me, but that's where it starts, but again, Prieto, you've never been scared of that. You've always been a pioneer to things like that. You know what I mean? You've never been, and that's, as a great friend, we've been great friends, but not just as someone who knows you, but you've never been scared to try out different things. We've done events that we were like scratching our heads like, shit, what the fuck, we should have made a killing. Yeah, and we didn't, but we weren't afraid of that X factor. You know what I mean? We weren't afraid to put language into people's mouth where they would be like, oh wow, I
well, here,
really enjoy this. If you did it again,
since,
it'd probably be great.
since you mentioned, since you mentioned Jordan, the Last Dance, just to
Uh-huh.
simply mention that, everybody talks about the shots that he
Yes,
makes, right? That's all they ever talk. But do you know
that's
how
it.
many shots that he missed? I
Ton,
mean, tons,
ton.
more than he's ever hit. Only because we remember the ones that, and that's kind of what the difference. How you can't become successful if you don't make the failures.
Right.
You can't make that winning shot unless unless you try it, and not every time is it going to work and stuff like. I mean, as you get tenured, as you said,
Yeah.
then it becomes a little easier, a little bit more confidence and stuff like that. But that's God, as many times as I've seen Jordan shoot, trust me, I've seen him miss thousands and thousands and thousands of times.
Mm-hmm.
He can't tell me he's 100%, or not even, he's a 50% shooter per se. And
Yeah.
I've seen him miss many times. It just happens, that's the way. But he, the difference is he keeps trying and he keeps trying.
He's resilient.
Yes, yes,
And again, for him, it was organic.
right.
It's not anything anyone put in here. And I'm just going to piggyback off what you said. It's good that us who are tenured in the game know that. And it's good that some of these young people know that too. Like, look, man, you get told no more than you will ever get told yes. So
Correct.
don't look at it because Prieto has the most phenomenal salsa night in Chicago. There was a lot of time prior to probably some of them even being born, he got told no too many times. You know what I
Yep,
mean? Or
yep.
prior to me, like, oh, well, how do you do this, man? How do you travel out of town, meet so many different people? Like, dude, I didn't just, randomly do this. You know what I mean? I was scared shitless when I went to these places, but I found key people, communications and networks that have stood solid with me. You know what I mean? But it was more no's than you're ever going to get yes. But the yeses overcome any of the no's. You know what I mean? Like all the good yeses, then you'll forget about the no's.
Correct,
If
correct,
Jordan
correct.
made that last shot at the end of the game with 2 seconds left, forget he probably forgot that he lost the game before. You do. It's just you're in that moment. You know what I mean? And it's a great moment.
Right.
And when we prevail and we're successful, it's a great moment. And the good thing for us tenured people is that we know that those moments will come. You know what I
Yep,
mean?
yep.
If you're consistent, those moments will come. You know what I mean? Like, but again, now with all this, the, social media. I'm not gonna blame social media, but like it's just people want everything in a hurry. You know what I mean? Everything's gotta come quick. You know what I mean? Hey, how come so and so not showing me no? Dude, you gotta give it time. You know what I mean? Hell, sometimes I gotta tell my kids that you gotta give it time. Take your time, man. Like what are you rushing for? And I think sometimes, especially in this business, people lose that. You know what I mean? Like they
I
want it
know,
right
I
away,
know.
and they're talented people, and you're like, dude, just keep going. I get it, man. But some people just they want it too quick, too soon, and they just don't, they don't prevail. I mean, they don't. I don't think they see the brighter side. You know what I mean? Of like, look, man, there's a lot of good coming. You know what I mean? But there's gonna be a ton of bad, and you got to know how to take it. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jared, that's the end of our time.
Yes.
I appreciate you very much for spending time with us. Any last words to anybody that's listening, anybody that's watching? Any last words you want to say?
No. Basically, I appreciate everybody who's been listening. I appreciate you, Prieto. Again, I just want to let people know if there's any artists you guys want to look into it. We got a few shows coming up. Can I say those, Prieto?
Yeah, go ahead.
Got some shows that are going to be coming up in Detroit. So if anyone's interested or any young artists or talent, again, it's beatcrushers.com. Feel free to log in, check that out. We are going to be in Detroit end of hopefully, if everything, maybe July, once all this COVID quarantine blows over. And, in Georgia opened up. Atlanta, we're going to be at Atlanta. We're going to be working with JP. So hopefully maybe we start the Quinto Sol events, you know what I mean? Hopefully maybe Aquid, if they don't happen this year, next year. So just kind of stay in tune, beatcrushers.com. And you guys can always follow me at JR Holliwood. I appreciate you, Prieto.
Don't hang up. All right, guys. Thank you. That's
Okay.
the front show. Thank you. And we'll see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock. I'll see you then. That's Cheeseball tomorrow. DJ from 720. That's tomorrow. Right? Thank you.
Oh, yeah.